So great, I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't no matter, you're just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?
Good night, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite sports show, none other than #ThisJustIn. It's the first Monday of the NFL season, so obviously we have to have our Overreaction Monday. And who better to have an Overreaction Monday than a hyped-up cast? I don't think by now I really have to introduce Dwayne Marcus to the G.O.A.T Talk podcast. I mean, it's like he's almost like a second host of the show, but there's Dwayne Marcus, the G.O.A.T Talk podcast. You should also know, huge Seahawks fan and the guy who's been everywhere right now, none other than my friend Calvin Domingo, and you know him as Steezy A. Smith. What's going on, Steezy?
Yo, what up, everybody? Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. Ready to talk some football with y'all.
And it has been long overdue. I don't think he's been on the show since, I want to say, the pre-Super Bowl show. Every day I see posts from the Just Good Network. It's like a thing for me. If it's Just Good Network, it's the final play. None other than Jansen Harris. What's been going on, Jansen?
What's going on? I'm happy to be here. What's up, fellas? Football's back.
Yes, sir.
It's indeed. So if football is back, then it is time for big overreactions. And I know Jansen Harris is known for big and huge and sometimes wild takes. So I'm going to start with you, Jansen. We had a huge opening weekend, but for you, what was your biggest takeaway from the collection of games?
It's so tough. This is a great question because there's so many things that went on this weekend that were shocking. But let's go. And I'm sorry I got to do this, but the Saints Green Bay game, Jameis Winston, 5 touchdown passes. This had to really help his confidence. I'm proud of him. I'm shocked. I thought this was a Green Bay was going to just annihilate the Saints. I didn't see this, but my biggest takeaway is how well Jameis played and how this Saints defense shut down the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if this is just maybe a fluke win, but this is a great A start if you're a Saints fan. And if you're a Green Bay fan, and I guess we're going to talk about this later in the show, am I overreacting by saying maybe Aaron Rodgers is starting to slow down? Maybe all the dysfunction is finally hitting this team. Maybe teams have finally figured it out. Again, this is a successful franchise, 2 straight NFC championship games. Maybe Green Bay will be average or below average this year. I don't know. It's just 1 week. But Jameis Winston's play was awesome. The Saints defense played awesome, and I was shocked. I never seen Aaron Rodgers play that bad. I think he threw 2 interceptions. That's just rare. So we'll see moving forward what happens, but that's my take on that.
Don't worry, guys, if you feel just be on. I mean, it's Overreaction Monday. That's the name of the show. But hopefully when I turn to my friend and Green Bay Packer fan, that Dwayne Marcus does not bring up what happened yesterday. So Dwayne, for you, and we're going to leave out the Packers, hopefully, what was your biggest takeaway from yesterday's slate of games?
I just want to say before I answer, this is the second time that I've been on Justin's show after a team in Wisconsin has made me upset, right? The last time I was on the show upset was when the Bucks beat the Nets and made it to the finals. But my biggest takeaway really is the Chargers finally winning a close game, right? We look at this team, and on paper they're very talented, right? A lot of people are saying that Justin Herbert could potentially be an MVP candidate this season. We have Keenan Allen split out wide, who is obviously a top 10 receiver in the league, and saying anything other than that, I don't ranking him outside of the top 10. I don't really know what type of football that you're watching, right? You have Austin Eckler, who had injury and missed some games last season. His being back is going to be very, very beneficial for this offense. A lot of people don't realize this is the offense that was ran in New Orleans last season and these past couple of seasons. Why does it look so different? Because Justin Herbert has the arm talent, the arm strength, the accuracy deep down the field that Drew Brees so sorely lacked. That really, I think, minimized the success of the New Orleans Saints offense these past couple of years. But the real reason why I have the Chargers' victory as the biggest takeaway is because in 2 seasons, the Chargers have played 23 games that have been decided within one possession. They've lost 16 of them. That's the most across any team of that span in the NFL. That's really bad. And when you're looking at this team that's very talented on offense and defense, we all think, most people, the general public, think that this is a team that can not only be in the playoffs this season, but could potentially have what it takes with the new coaching staff to make a run at the Super Bowl this season. And if you're going to make a run at the Super Bowl, especially when you're talking about December and January football, you're going to have to win these close football games. And winning close football games is very, very important, right? 14 of 19 on third downs. That's unbelievable. Again, Herbert and Allen and Eckler, you know that the talent is there. But the big thing for me also, they had 5 plays that were they had 5 drives that were 10 plays or more, including the last drive of the game that took almost basically the rest of the clock off. It was a 15-play drive. This is a very, very good football team. I think Brandon Staley could potentially be coach of the year this season. And I think winning close football games has continuously been the one thing that has kept the Chargers, separated the Chargers from being an average team to being a great team. And I think this is the right step to them potentially making a lot of noise this season.
What about you, Steezy? Your Hawks had a very convincing win in Indianapolis. What was the biggest takeaway for you this weekend?
Well, like I said, I'm not going to directly go into the Seahawks, but I think a lot of what's being lost right now, I think a lot of what's dominating the headlines, right, is the fact that the NFC North is so futile. Like, we're going to talk about later on, how bad this division might be compared to the rest of the NFL. But I think what's being overshadowed is how dominant the NFC West is. And my total takeaway from this past weekend is the fact that I could see all 4 teams in the NFC West finishing with the record above 500. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that all 4 teams will make the playoffs because I boldly stated that a couple of months ago, but I don't know if that's even mathematically possible.
You did it on this show, too. You actually said on this show that you have all 4 teams, I remember.
What a coincidence. Well, I don't know if that's mathematically possible, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that again. I'm standing by maybe later on when it's looking like it's going to, be more likely. But for right now, I'm not hesitate to say that all 4 teams will finish with records above 500. I mean, you look at 3 of the 4 teams won by 10-plus points, and then the 49ers, the lone team that didn't do that, well, they were kind of messing around and, almost let the Detroit Lions come back, but we all know that they weren't really in danger of losing that game. Now, did we? I mean, the Rams, the way they dominated the Bears on Sunday night, my Seahawks, how they handled the Colts, on their home turf. They have an elite defense, a great offensive line, but the offensive line was almost non-existent with all the pressures that they gave up. Our offensive line was pretty solid, to say the least. But I just think that all 4 of these teams, Arizona Cardinals, see how they dispatched the Titans on their home turf, how they shut down Derrick Henry, Kyler Murray, 5 touchdowns, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks on his own. I mean, a lot of people, the consensus was that the Cardinals were the worst team in the NFC West, but, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations going on today. I mean, I think I said that, so I'm a victim, of that very mindset. But, man, I think just every single team in the NFC West, the way that they thoroughly dominated, I just think that, man, if there's a year in which all 4 teams from one division is going to make the playoffs, it's probably going to be this year. But, man, shout out to all the NFC West teams out there, for real.
I feel you on that take, Steezy, and maybe I might need to backtrack on my hate of Cliff Kingsbury just shortly. But I have 3 takes, and I know Dwayne doesn't feel that way, but I have 3 takes here in a little bit. For me personally, I'll start with the third. I know everyone's chick pick to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC had been Buffalo. And I warned people, in my estimation, Buffalo took a step back in this offseason. And obviously this is, just 1 week. But this is indeed Overreaction Monday. And I want to say, not addressing your inability to run is going to cost this Buffalo Bills team and their inability to get after the passer. And so said, so done. They dropped back, and I want to say 51 times. That is not a recipe for success against anyone, especially a Pittsburgh Steelers defense who was welcoming back T.J. Watt. that is just a recipe for disaster. And he sat there and he saw it. And what concerned me about it is that they were actually getting production at the running back position. They were able to run the football. But for some odd reason, Buffalo thought we are going to win this game, throwing the ball 51 times. And the other concern, number 2, moving up from 3 to 2, I remember a certain person on this cast, they won't call his name, asked me, what happens if Baker Mayfield was able to get down and march down the field and beat the Cleveland Browns? Now, me personally, I love how the Cleveland Browns are built. But I told Dwayne Marcus that if it comes down in the fourth quarter to the Cleveland Browns needing a final drive to march down the field to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, Baker Mayfield is not that guy. So said again, so done. We saw that on Sunday. I want to say Cleveland Browns had absolutely no right losing this game. Like, absolutely no right. You rush out to 22-10 lead. Sure, you can't control what Baker Mayfield does with that background football, scrambling to his right and just tossing up prayers. That shouldn't have been a completion. And then they had him dead to rights in the red zone, and he scrambles and makes something a rushing touchdown. You can't control that. But you can control that bad turnover by Baker Mayfield at the end of the game, and you can control that fumble punt. But I guess we're going to get to that later. But obviously, you can see I have on number 12. I have this over my left shoulder, or right shoulder, so sorry. The biggest concern really has to be, or the biggest takeaway, is the Green Bay Packers not only just scoring 3 points, but giving up 38, which allows me to segue perfectly into this next segment. And I will start with the other Packers fan on this broadcast. Dwayne Marcus, unfortunately, we have to go there. How concerning was Sunday's 38-3 beatdown in Jacksonville by the New Orleans Saints?
Here's before I go on my rant, I want to say 2 things. First of all, I did come on this show last Wednesday, and I did say that Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints, I think, have a lot more at their disposal than what meets the eye, right? And I think they showed that. And I do also just want to say very briefly that maybe there's a silver lining in all this, right? The last team to lose 38-3. The last team to lose 38-3 opening weekend to the Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended the season hosting the Lombardi Trophy, and when it's all said and done. So maybe that's our fate. But let's talk about this monstrosity of a football game. This was really sloppy football on both offense and defense, and it is. I don't think ever in my lifetime I've ever been in a position where I've had to say bad things about Aaron Rodgers. But I have to say bad things about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers played probably the worst game he's ever played in his career, right? You've got one pass when you're in the red zone, and first of all, this is a guy we're looking at. He's always very, very careful with the football, right? He's a quarterback who'll throw as many interceptions as anybody and like as little interceptions as anybody. And I watched this football game, and we're in the red zone in the 2nd and 7. And you step up in the pocket, and rather than just throwing it away like we're accustomed to seeing him do, and just coming back on 3rd down, he just throws it behind Devontae Adams. It's an interception there. Then you're in your own red zone. You're backed up against the goal line, and you just completely overthrow Marquez Valdez-Scantling about 8 to 10 yards ahead of the route. I don't know if it's the pressure that Aaron Rodgers has put on himself. I don't know if he looked disengaged. He looked like he just didn't care. And I know it's Overreaction Monday, and I've always been very optimistic about the Packers, right? Like, even when Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone, I still thought we were going to the playoffs. Like, I'm just always been very optimistic about the Packers. And I don't think this is a sign of things to come unless we see this again next week. Because here's the thing. My concern going into this game was I thought we would win. I thought we would have to worry about the pressure because of the right side of that line. Obviously, without David Bakhtiari, I thought that there would be issues there. I did not think that Aaron Rodgers would throw 2 interceptions in a week 1 football game against a defense whose secondary, I mean, it's good, but this isn't an eye-popping secondary. This is not a shutdown secondary in the NFL. This is not a secondary you look at it and you say, it's going to be really tough to throw against this secondary, especially when your quarterback is Aaron freaking Rodgers. So this is not just a football game where you look at it and you say, this is just like, it happens. Right, you can joke and say this is the annual blowout loss in Florida or whatever, and you can do that. And I did do that. I did make that joke on my show earlier today. But This is really, really, really bad. And it's not just offensive, it's defensive too. As much as us Packers fans hated Mike Pettin, the Packers had a top 10 defense last season. I don't know why I don't know why there was a decision to replace Mike Pettin, let alone replace him with Joe Barry, who has done nothing on his defenses as of late. But this is just really, really sloppy football. And again, credit where credit is due to Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. Like, you still have to go out there, you still have to win the football game, and they did just that. But this was just sloppy football from opening kickoff until the end. And I don't know.
Overreaction Monday by guy Jansen Harris. It is week 1, but how concerned should the Packers be getting blown out 38-3 with a Saints team without Drew Brees, without Michael Thomas, without Traquan Smith, I want to say, without basically anyone not named Jameis Winston and Alvin Kamara?
I'm extremely concerned, and it's not just a result of that game saying the Saints will be a huge threat in the NFC, but what you guys talked about before, the NFC West. All those teams are looking at Green Bay like that's the performance you guys are coming with. There's a bunch of contenders in the NFC West. That's who Green Bay got to worry about. They have a bunch of problems. Look at Seattle. Russell Wilson, all the drama he went through in the offseason. He was throwing bombs. His passes were perfect. I was like, sheesh. And I'm not even a Seattle guy like that. I've been critical of Russ sometimes, maybe overly critical. I'm thinking Seattle could win more championships, but he looked good. Kyler Murray, some of those plays were amazing. People are talking about MVP. It is 1 week, but he's looking great. The Rams, we all have talked about the expectations with Matthew Stafford and this coaching staff. They all need a win. This whole organization, jobs are on the line. This division is crazy good. And then you have the 49ers and Shanahan. And can Jimmy Garoppolo bring them deep into the playoffs? They have that defense. The defense is back. So I think when I look at the situation, I'm concerned just because I think they'll turn things around and they'll be a playoff team. But we look at Green Bay as a team that could easily get back to the NFC Championship game. Those are the expectations, potentially even Super Bowl. A lot of people are picked Green Bay to win the Super Bowl. And to come out there, I think a lot of it was effort. A lot of it was underestimating the Saints. A lot of it was maybe fatigue of all the drama that went down. So I'm really concerned because there's a lot of talent in the NFC. And then you got Tampa Bay. How can I forget the champions? You got Tampa Bay right at the top. So they should be concerned because right now it looks like there's a good 5 or 6 teams better than them.
I'm glad you brought up the NFC West, Jansen, because also the Packers are matched up with the NFC West in the regular season, the entire NFC North. So there are those 4 teams that they're going to have to play at some point during the regular season. So it is fitting that you bring that up. Steve, the same question. I know it is week 1, but how concerned should the Packers be after that 38-3 beatdown?
I'm going to be honest. I think Jansen really brought a whole new perspective on my end because I was going to say I'm not super concerned. You know, I think that at the end of the day, credit to the Saints, right? I want to give the Saints their flowers, but I think if there was going to be a rematch of these 2 teams with the locked-in Green Bay Packers team that didn't actually miss so many reps in the offseason, then I think that Green Bay will come out on top. You know, and I just think that Green Bay lost this game more so than the Saints won this game. I mean, no disrespect to the Saints whatsoever. I mean, Jameis Winston threw 5 touchdowns, didn't throw a single interception. He did have a pick, though, that was nullified by a roughing the passer that shouldn't have been a roughing the passer on Zadarius Smith. And so he maybe got away with one there, but let's not forget, he only threw 20 passes. And so 148 yards, I mean, the Packers were literally gifting him the ball. After some of those interceptions, they had great field position, and they capitalized. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why Jameis Winston didn't throw for so many yards. He was put in perfect positions. And so I'm not super worried about the Packers. I think that at the end of the day, they'll get right. They'll realize, like, look, this is our last dance. You guys do realize this is our last dance. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, I'm pretty sure they've had talks with the locker room. Everyone knows what's up. And, yeah, you know, some of the guys are going to have to hold down the fort. David Bakhtiari's out. I don't know what they're going to do on defense. If there's anything to be really concerned about, it's probably going to be about the defense. Offensive line, that'll fix itself later on as the season progresses. Aaron Jones, he will run the football better. Aaron Rodgers, he will make better decisions. I just think that he didn't want to be there, at least not that game. It was just a lack of effort. Guys looked lackadaisical. Guys didn't, play with 100% effort. Guys just didn't want it. Guys didn't want to be there. And so once they do want to be there, once they get locked in, once they start really practicing more, once they really start, establishing that lost chemistry, then they'll be good. They do play the NFC West. There are a lot of teams that they got to be worried about in the NFC, but at 100% full strength, when everyone is locked in, we know what this team is capable of. And so that's really where my thinking stems from. I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. And Dwayne even brought it up before he went into it. I mean, the Bucs, they got whooped last year, Sunday Night Football, remember, against the Saints? And then at the end of the season, they ended up hoisting that trophy. And so, maybe this is that game that Green Bay learns from. Maybe this is that Buccaneers game, or maybe, this matchup, this loss was equivalent to, to that Bucs game from last year. Maybe this is that game in which they really, learn, and, this is the game that defined them, And so next week, the Packers do have the Lions, and so that is a get-right game. I can see Aaron Rodgers throwing for 5, 6, maybe 7 touchdowns. And so after next week, after you guys whoop them maybe by 30 to 40, I think the headlines are going to be the complete opposite. We're going to be talking about something completely different. And so, it does go along with the title. It is Overreaction Monday, and I love that about the NFL. But, like Aaron Rodgers said, there's still 16 more games to go. This is one of them. And by the end of the season, come playoff time, I think we'll know where the Packers will be standing. So there you go.
Here's what before Justin gets, I just want to say, it's interesting you brought that up, because I forgot to mention that. I found Aaron Rodgers' statement about there's 16 more to go a little bothersome, right? If this is a football game where you go out there and you play your best and say you lose 38-31 or it's a close game, sure, there's 16 more games. You not only did you lose this football game, like if you're gonna list out the reasons why the Packers lost the way that they did, Aaron Rodgers is like the top 5 things on the list, right? Like if you want to list 5 reasons why the Packers lost the way they did, Aaron Rodgers is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you can spell it. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Like it is. We spent all of Justin and I and other Packers fans, we spent the entire offseason wondering if the man was coming back to play football, period. Not even just for the Packers. If he was ever going to step back onto an NFL football field in general. He comes back and he gives this tell-all press conference, and it's really revealing. And he's talking about how he's not involved in decision making. He doesn't like how all these things are happening. You would think that he would come out here against the inferior team and not just win, but like win convincingly, right? And so we got, what is it, a Sunday Night Football game against the Rams? Is that what it is? It's one of them. It's a primetime game. We don't deserve it. After what we just did on Sunday, we don't deserve to be in primetime next week. And I'll be honest, I don't care if the Packers beat the Lions next week by 60. It's the Lions. Like this is a New Orleans Saints team that it's obviously, this is not a team where you're looking at like, yikes, like they can make the Super Bowl, but this is still a good team with a reasonable enough components where they could at least be in the playoffs, and we didn't get the job done. And I said this on my show earlier, there's no one in the world that has the Saints ranked better than the Packers. There are only 3 teams, I think, that people would look at consensus and say, yeah, they're better than the Packers. It's the Chiefs, the Bucs, and maybe the Bills. That's it, man. The New Orleans Saints, this New Orleans Saints team is not better than the Green Bay Packers. And what we saw yesterday was just disgusting. Like, disgusting to say the least.
So let me say there quickly, right? Again, it is only week 1, but the title of the show is indeed Overreaction Monday. I have been watching Packers football since 94, 95. This is indeed the worst performance I have ever seen by a team that calls itself a professional football team. I don't know how much stock to put into Aaron Rodgers' drama this offseason. Is he going to play? Does he want to play? Is he going to play here? Dwayne, went through everything, and then the whole tell-all press conference. I don't know. Because I have to believe you're a professional player, and you can leave the off-field drama off the field. And when it comes time to play football, because this is not a new system for you. You are with the best receiver in football, Devontae Adams. You know the offense well. This is your 3rd season with Matt LaFleur now. Aaron Jones is a top 10 running back. This is supposed to be one of the better lines in football. Granted, it's without David Bakhtiari and Corey Linsley. you're aware of Robert Tundon. You had all your weapons at your disposal. You asked for Randall Cobb. You had a healthy Alan Lazard. Marquez Valdez-Scantling supposedly had this great training camp. I will put it down to there is something to be said of playing preseason football. And this is a team that played, or the starters played none of it. Now, I want to go and say I was on board with not risking the starters playing. But it would appear to me that that was not a good idea, because I have to think this is not a situation where one or two players are bad. This is everyone on both sides of the football. Aaron Rodgers looked like a rookie up there. Dwayne talked about that interception. It was so bad. I would expect a rookie to make a jump pass in that situation and turn over the football. Not the guy who leads, well, sorry, he's behind Patrick Mahomes, no, but second all-time in touchdown to interception ratio, who does not turn over the football in the red zone. I would not expect that from Aaron Rodgers. I would expect that from Jordan Love. Then clearly the Saints don't bite on your play action. You had to have seen the safety playing center field. So I don't know what that pass is all about. Like, you just lobbed it up there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the fastest player on the field on both sides, and you overshot him by 10 yards. So I don't know what that is. The defense did not get any penetration whatsoever. They completely blew us off the line. With no Drew Brees there anymore, Jared Cook is not there anymore. There's no Emmanuel Sanders. Michael Thomas is hurt. So too was Tre'Quan Smith. Me, in my infinite wisdom, must know there is one player you have to be very concerned about. And this team did not look prepared like they practiced for stopping Alvin Kamara. Because in my mindset, I have to come to this game telling myself, I am taking away number 41, and I'm going to live with anything else that beats me, but it won't be 41. So if Jameis Winston beats me down the field, that's so be it, but I'm going to take away Alvin Kamara. And we did not see that in the first half. Alvin Kamara completely dominated this game in the first half. So I say all of that to say this team was ill prepared to win this football game. They did not come up with a game plan to beat the team in front of them, meaning that you did not scheme for the New Orleans Saints. And in that mind, I put this on Matt LaFleur. And Dwayne, I don't want to cast aspirations on Joe Barry because I don't know him that well. And there's a lot of football to play. So I'll just leave that up in the air. Thankfully, Matt LaFleur has already owned this loss. This team, as a bunch, came out ill-prepared to play the opponent they had to play. I don't care about whether in Jacksonville. I don't care about, the offseason drama. They should have played some snaps in preseason because this team was not prepared to play the New Orleans Saints. And why that is so important is because that is a conference opponent. That's not an out-of-conference AFC opponent. So when it comes down to seeding, that is a head-to-head match that you just lost. And this Packers team has a huge and significant advantage playing in Green Bay, not because of fans, but because of the cold weather that the frozen tundra gets in January, the entire month of January. That is a game you cannot afford to lose because, as all of you mentioned, there are 4 opponents in the NFC West that the Green Bay Packers still have yet to play. I do not want to take anything away from the New Orleans Saints. I haven't said anything purposely because that's coming up late in the show. But guys, and I'm going to start with you now again, Jansen. Given that all 4 teams in the division have lost and, in my estimation, did not look competitive in losing, is it fair to say on Overreaction Monday that the NFC West or NFC North, is now the worst division in all of football?
I wouldn't say that just because the NFC East, in my opinion, isn't that good. I think you'll see the teams turn it around. Let's be fair. The Bears played the Rams. The Rams, arguably, a lot of people think the Rams are going to be the best team in the NFL this year. If you look at the roster, the defense, the offensive line, the receivers, the running game, Matthew Stafford, which that's a 50-50 argument. Some people think he's going to be exposed this season. Other people think, dang, he's the missing piece. So, and then you have Green Bay. I would still say Green Bay, despite that loss, is better than every team in the NFC East. You feel me? So, and plus Minnesota, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be competitive. I don't know too much of if Kirk Cousins could get them to the playoffs, because there's some people who think it's not Kirk Cousins' fault. It's the offensive line. It's the defense. And then there's some people who say it's Kirk Cousins. But I think they're a competitive team. I can't say that because the NFC East, I look at teams like the Giants. They're not a good team. I don't think Washington is going to be good this season. They just lost Fitzpatrick, who he's known to give you a good 8 weeks, 9 weeks. He'll be on highlight reel throwing touchdowns. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. That's not a good sign. So there's question marks at the quarterback position. I just looking at Redskins. I don't know, man. Outside the Cowboys, I don't really have that much confidence in the NFC East. Yes, the Eagles are there, and they just beat down the Falcons. But there's people out there who think the Falcons aren't that good. And the Falcons will be drafting in the top 5. There's not a lot of people here in Atlanta think that, obviously, with the homer takes. But around the league, there's people who think the Falcons are terrible. So it's just 1 week. I need to come back on the show or vice versa. We all need to have this discussion again by week 5 or week 6, but I'm not ready to overreact yet. But the one overreaction I will say is the NFC West is going to be the best division this year. Hands down, that's going to be the best. You said what?
We didn't get Jansen to overreact, but hopefully we will get Steezy to overreact here. All 4 teams lost. Steezy, is this now the worst division in all of football?
I got to go with an emphatic yes. I mean, from the rundown that you sent me, it said, is the NFC North now the best division in football? So my answer right now is yes. Not only did all 4 teams lose, but like you said, Justin, they lost in a very unconvincing, ugly fashion. Each and every single one of those teams. The Vikings, yes, they had talent, but you lost to the Bengals. You almost tied with the Bengals. Now you got people thinking the Bengals are good. The Bengals are not good. Yes, they have a solid offense. I understand the Vikings' offensive line struggled. But Kirk Cousins still for over 300 yards and had 2 touchdowns. What else do you want more from Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins does not usually throw for 300+ yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And so he did his thing. Dalvin Cook was bottled up on the ground, but he had over 100 scrimmage yards, and so he did his thing. Just Jefferson, he didn't exactly show up, but Adam Thielen, 9 catches, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, but he still lost to the Bengals. The Packers, obviously, they went through that debacle of a loss against the Saints. I mean, even though I'm not super worried, that was an ugly loss, to say the least. The Lions, I mean, okay, got to give them a little bit of credit. They almost came back against the Niners. They came roaring back. They scored 30+ points. A lot of players had good days. T.J. Hockenson had over 100 yards. Jared Goff threw for over 300.
T.J. Hockenson is on my fantasy team. That's what I put down there, but continue.
He's on one of my fantasy teams as well, and so I was able to reap the benefits. But the Bears, look, see, the Bears are that bad of a team. Even if you put Justin Fields, even if he started, I don't see that team making any sort of playoff noise. I could barely even see them finishing with a record above 500. I mean, look, that defense has been on decline for the last couple of years. That defense is no longer top 10. Yes, they still have Khalil Mack, but he had a total of 1 pressure and no sacks against the Rams last night. He's not what he once was either. That defense has lost a lot of talent. The offensive line is almost non-existent outside of Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. Maybe Cole Kmet's okay, but they don't have much weaponry. Andy Dalton was terrible. That Bears team is not as good as people think. And so, yes, right now the NFC North is the worst division in all of football. The NFC East, they actually fielded 3 teams that look somewhat competent. Obviously, Jansen went into a little bit, but the Eagles, they look good. Even if the Falcons are a bad team, for the Eagles to win 32-6 against any opponent, I think is great news. That defense was phenomenal. The offensive line was terrific. The weapons showed out. Jalen Hurts was terrific. The Cowboys, they almost won against the reigning defending Super Bowl champions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They held on until the very last minute, and so props to them for doing that. The Washington football team, yes, they lost Ryan Fitzmagic, but I think Taylor Heinicke is going to be somewhat competent. If anything, he's at least going to be able to hold it down for the next couple of weeks. Maybe they bring in Cam Newton. I don't know. Maybe they bring in another reinforcement at quarterback, but that defense, they still have an elite defense. They have elite weaponry, and they have a great coach. I'm not worried about the Washington football team. The Giants, they got dismantled by the Denver Broncos, but Saquon, let's wait until he's really fully healthy, and let's wait for some of those other pieces to come back. I like the NFC, East this year a little bit more than other people do, and so because they no longer have that crown of the worst division of football, I got to give it to the NFC North.
Dwayne, as a fellow NFC North guy, is Steezy wrongfully disparaging the NFC North, or is it indeed the worst division in all of football right now?
No, I don't think the NFC North is the worst division in football, right? I mean, the Lions are the Lions, Yeah, they put up 33, but I mean, let's be honest. If the 49ers really came out there and really had their heads screwed on tight, they wouldn't have scored 33 points, right? So the Lions are the Lions, right? You've got the Bears against the Rams. They weren't going to beat the Rams if the only way the Bears beat the Rams is if Tom Brady is their quarterback in Week 1. I don't see. I mean, that team, as Steezy said, there's just holes everywhere. The defense is not that defense is not a scary defense that it once was, even just a couple years ago, right? That offensive line stinks. You've got Allen Robinson. Outside of that, there's no real talent on that offense, right? So the Bears are the Bears. You've got the Vikings. I'm actually not that all shocked that the Vikings lost to the Bengals. I mean, I picked the Vikings to win because they're the better team on paper. But when you look at it, I mean, Joe Burrow was able to hold his own behind what was a really bad offensive line. Jamar Chase had a good game, 5 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. And then once you get to overtime, anything can happen, and they win on a last-second field goal. And so I'm not all that concerned about the Vikings. I don't know if the Vikings are going to be a team where we're looking at as we get into, as we're getting into November and December and saying, hey, they're in the hunt. But, who knows? I think they're still going to be an average to maybe above average team, just like they were last season, except this time they won't make the playoffs. And the Packers are the Packers. And I think we can all look at that game on Sunday as an aberration, as an anomaly. We can look at it as a vacuum, hopefully, and that trend doesn't continue. I don't even think the NFC East is the worst division in football, right? Because you've got the Washington football team who, even without Ryan Fitzpatrick, they do still have a top 5 defense in the NFL. I think they'll still win that division, whether it's with Taylor Heineke as quarterback, whether it's, with Cam Newton at quarterback, if they decide to bring him in, whether they try to make some move to get some, I don't know, maybe a Derek Carr. There are options out there for the Washington football team as far as quarterback play is concerned, right? You've got the Cowboys, and they played really good. The Giants, actually, I don't think the Giants are as bad as a lot of people think. And the Eagles are the Eagles. I think the worst division in football right now is the AFC South, right? You've got the Texans who somehow beat the Jaguars. I didn't see that coming. And so, yeah, they'll go 1-16 this season, and that's good for them. The Jaguars are the Jaguars. This is a team that is 4 years removed from possibly going to the Super Bowl. But outside of that, they've got nothing going for them. And you got the Titans and the Colts, both of which were dismantled by NFC West opponents. And maybe it's because of the NFC West, and so you don't take it that much for granted. But only one of those two teams are making the playoffs. And I got to put my money on it right now. I'd say the Tennessee Titans, right? They've got a top 5 back in the league. They have a pretty good wide receiver core and a serviceable quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. So, but all in all, though, the AFC South, I think if you match them up against the NFC East or even the NFC North, I think the NFC East beats the AFC South before the AFC South beats the NFC East. So right now, I think the AFC South is the worst division in football. But the NFC North is so weird, man, because you've always got the Packers and the Vikings, and it's maybe the Bears this season, and then the Lions are just always bringing up the rear. But no, it's maybe like Jansen said, if you want to come back in 5 or 6 weeks from now, and we're looking at a situation where maybe all the teams are sitting at 500 or below 500, then I think we can have a serious discussion. But it's Week 1. I'm not ready to overreact and say that that's the worst division in football.
But I do, though. I'm ready to say that my own division is the worst in football, because I think for too long we've allowed the Packers' elite status to mask what's really going on in this division. Let's look at the quarterbacks in this division just alone. Jared Goff. I mean, there's a reason that the Rams decided that they need to move on to somebody else so that they can compete for Super Bowls. This guy is not good enough. Kirk Cousins, well, decent, probably middle of the pack. He's not a guy that's going to win you football games. As I'd like to say, he is good enough to get you beaten. He doesn't win primetime games. He doesn't win playoff games. And then who's the other quarterback? Oh, my gosh, Andy Dalton. What I do know of this division is last night showed me Justin Fields needs to start like yesterday. And now I understand protecting him or whatever not. But, yeah, Justin Fields needs to start like yesterday. because Andy Dalton is not it. Andy Dalton is no longer a starter in this league. Neither should Jared Goff. And Kirk Cousins is barely serviceable. So if the Packers are not elite this season, and we still expect them to, we are talking about one good team in this entire division. We sat down and saw, and yes, Steezy may mention that the Lions held the 49ers close to the end of the game, but that's because the 49ers took their foot off the gas. Like, anyhow, they played a complete football game. That's a 30-point route we're talking about. As Dwayne mentioned, like, how do you go into Cincinnati and lose that football game with a second-year quarterback who is now returning from a horrific knee injury with a receiver who cannot catch a cold during the preseason? Like, how do you lose that football game? And I mean, you had to come back to tie it, to send it into overtime, and still lost. Like, no, this is the worst division in football, and it will show anyhow that yesterday was not an aberration and is more of what we can expect from the Packers this season. And they don't expect that or anticipate it. But anyhow, the Packers really do come back down to earth. We're going to see just how bad this NFC North really is. Now, as I said early on, I didn't think I gave enough credit to the New Orleans Saints, so we'll do that right now. And I'll start with you, Steezy. The Saints won 38-3, but are the New Orleans Saints really this good?
I'm gonna say, can I say TBD without it sounding like a cop out? Because
no cop outs. Yeah, this is Overreaction Monday, Steezy.
No. Okay, you know what? If that's the case, I'm gonna say no. No, I don't think they're actually this good. Now, I don't think that they're as bad as many people were pointing them out to be before the season started, but I don't think they're as good as now some people are saying that they are after defeating Green Bay. And here's why. I think that it's kind of what I went into earlier, right, with the Packers and how they pretty much lost this game more so than the Saints won. And so because that's the case, we don't really know how good the Saints team really is. Like I said, the next time they were to play the Packers, I really believe that it'd be a different result. We all know that at full strength, if both teams were locked in, the Green Bay Packers would win that game. And so this is really just a matter of, like you said, Justin, they were ill-prepared. They didn't look like they wanted to be there. Aaron Rodgers missed a lot of time in training camp for preseason. The starters didn't play. And so, they were rusty. And with the Saints, they were gifted great field position. Jameis Winston got away with not throwing an interception. The run game was magnificent. The offensive line was spectacular. The defense, harassed Green Bay's quarterbacks all night long. But let's see them actually go up against, some more quality competition. Let's see them matched up against Green Bay again. Let's see them throughout the regular season before we determine whether or not they're actually a good football team. Because, it is week one and, not a lot of people really even have this team as a playoff team. And now they could possibly make noise as a wild card team. But does that classify them as good? Does that mean that they're any better than they were when they had a Drew Brees? Because yes, they have a new element in their offense with that, with the deep down the field passing from Jameis Winston. But can we guarantee that he's going to have more games like this in which he's turnover free? Do we know that, they're going to be playing teams that don't want to be there, more often? And so it's really hard to say. But right now, I got to say no, just because I need to see it against, more teams. I got to see it against teams that are actually locked in. And so right now, no, they're not as good as, they looked. But they are good. So I'll say that.
Dwayne, I know you are on this Saints train before you did warn me. So are the Saints really this good?
The Saints aren't this good. They're not 38 points. They're not 38 points good, but they're not bad. This is not a bad football team, right? I think, and I can say this. You can call it a hot take if you want. If there is a team, legitimately that when you look at the NFC South that could potentially be a real threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' success this season, it's the New Orleans Saints, right? You look at the Carolina Panthers, and look, I'm very high on Sam Darnold, and Justin hates it because me and Brian from Boast Up Sports are very high on Sam Darnold, and it's lovely. It's nice when you get a fresh start.
I will say this. I think y'all have two words too many. You're very high on Sam Darnold. You can just take out the on Sam Darnold part, but continue.
I mean, maybe the jury's still out for Sam Darnold yet, but he did have a pretty good game in Week 1 against his former team, the New York Jets, with weapons. We see what he can do when he's got ample weapons around. You've got Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and Christian McCaffrey, but that's another conversation for another day. Then you look at the Atlanta Falcons, right? You've got Matt Ryan and you've got this offense. And I don't know if it's because it's a new offense or if maybe the defense in Philadelphia is just that good, but like the Falcons look atrocious. And so look at the New Orleans Saints. And the New Orleans Saints, again, obviously they do not have the weapons that they once had, but they've got Jameis Winston. And I know we do this all the time. And it's important. You want to always look at the full stat line. Yeah, Jameis Winston threw for 33 interceptions that season. He also threw for 30 touchdowns and he had over 5,000 yards. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns because he can put points on the board for you. Yeah, he'll put points on the board for the other team too with a couple pick sixes here and there. But he's still very good. He can put the ball down the field. He can drive your offense down the field. And so do I think that as the season progresses, we'll continue to see the Saints put up 30 or more points a game? No. But, I mean, because you think about it, if you take away the 2 interceptions, this isn't a 30. It's not 38-3. It's, what are you talking about? Take away 14 points. What is that? Quick math. 24-3.
24.
I think we can see the Saints averaging around 25 points per game, and this looks like a 25 points per game offense. And I think they're that good. And I think 25 points per game for the Saints is enough to get them in the playoffs. And that's where we're at, right? Jameis Winston's not a bad quarterback. In fact, he's a walking ad for LASIK eye surgery right now. So, if you need LASIK eye surgery, look no further than Jameis Winston because he's looking good. I mean, let's think about the stat line, right? 14-20 for 5 touchdowns. Every fourth pass, the ball is in the end zone for this offense. And I get it, right? He was put in a position where he's got really good field position for a couple of those drives. But yeah, I don't know if the Saints are going to be top 5 offense good, which is what they look like on Sunday, but they can definitely be a top 12 offense this season, averaging around 25 points per game. And in the NFC, that might just be enough to get you into the playoffs, right? We could see some games down the line where it might just come down to who has the ball last. And if we're talking about that, I'm not all. Would I prefer Jameis Winston as my quarterback on the last possession on the last drive? No. But am I going to look at it and say the Saints have the ball last and they're going to lose down in possession? No. And I think Jameis is on the right track. I think he's learned how to be a better quarterback, and I think the Saints will benefit from it this season.
I forgot I should have started with you, Jansen. So sorry, because you do live in that division. You obviously talk big about the Atlanta Falcons and you see the Saints twice a year. So, Jansen, are the Saints really this good? Are they a threat in the NFC?
Just like Steezy said, we're going to have to wait and see. But the Saints, how I look at them right now, even with that victory, this is a team that they're going to have a hard time making the playoffs. If you be real, with the NFC West, and then you have a team like the Bucs in the division. I think the Saints are going to be definitely competing for the second spot in the NFC South, but they have a long way to go. Jameis Winston in 2019, the 30 interceptions. Yes, he had 33 touchdown passes, over 5,000 yards passing. However, he has to prove on a consistent basis that he is not that turnover machine. This game was great. I'm proud of him. Mr. 5 touchdown passes, no picks. Maybe you're right about the surgery, but at the end of the day, you got to do this consistently. It has to be consistent. If Jameis Winston learns to throw the ball away and not be careless, and maybe he's learned the last 2 years from Sean Payton to be cautious of what you're doing with the football and not throw pick sixes, and it doesn't always have to be either a touchdown or a pick six, because that's what it was in 2019. And by the way, Jameis was like one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch his last season in Tampa Bay. Because he was always a game breaker. Jameis was either a pick six or a touchdown pass. So if Jameis Winston could, let's say, 15 picks tops, maybe this team with Alvin Kamara running the football and with some play action pass and with the defense, hopefully they can continue to be dominant. This team, borderline playoffs. I could see borderline playoffs, but are they going to make significant noise in the NFC? I don't think so. I have to see more because Carolina, I'm high on Sam Darnold too. Being a Jets fan, and I was shocked by this. I was shocked that they gave up on him. I was shocked that they did nothing. Adam Gase did nothing to benefit his career. Actually, I don't like to blame coaches too much when players fail, but damn. I don't even know why Adam Gase got that job in the first place. But anyways, I think Carolina right now looks like Carolina, New Orleans. That'll be good. We'll see who gets the better of each other. The Bucs are definitely the class of the division, and obviously the Falcons looks like another 4-win season. so I'm not even going to sit here and boost them like they're the second best team. But I think the Saints. Let's see more of them. Let's see how they play against. Let's see how they play against the Bucks. Let's see how they play against the Panthers, and that's really going to tell you something. But just one game, I can't. Not yet, Justin.
Yeah,
real fast, Justin.
Go ahead.
So I just want to say, I mean, earlier it seemed as if I was just kind of pooping on the Saints and Jameis Winston, but I just real quick, I just want to say, Jameis Winston, mad respect, mad props, like 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. And so although we need to see more, it's a step in the right direction. So shout out to Jameis Winston.
No,
and also, I just want to say, Jameis Winston might go for 30 and 20 this season. He might actually throw for 30 touchdowns and less than 20 interceptions. And I said that to Justin a couple days ago, and he told me I was crazy, and he questioned my football knowledge, and I don't appreciate that. So, at the end of the season, Jameis Winston throws for 30 touchdowns and less than 20 interceptions. I'm going to come back on this show, and I might just wear a Jameis Winston jersey because I'm high on Jameis Winston this season. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine. I think Michael Thomas, when he returns, slant boy, whatever you want to call him, I think he'll be okay. Alvin Kamara is a very valuable asset to this offense out of the backfield, right? His only touchdown on Sunday was coming out of the backfield. Jameis Winston is going to be fine. And also, I just want to say, and this is, you can answer it or not, did we see any careless balls from Jameis Winston on Sunday?
Just one, which should have been interception.
Right.
Which should have been intercepted, which was taken away.
Aside from that one bad pass, he was very good with the football on Sunday. And again, it's only 1 week, and maybe this is an overreaction. But if this is a sign of things to come for Jameis Winston and New Orleans Saints, I wouldn't be surprised if, as we're closing into the playoffs and we're starting to get into the hunt and the nitty-gritty of the season, the Saints might sneak in as a 6th or 7th seed.
I'll see, like everyone else here, they're probably not 38-3 good. But I'll be the first to say that I underestimated this team. And once Jameis Winston is not turning over the football like he did yesterday, once he's playing, and it sounds weird to say this about a New Orleans Saints team, but once they continue to play this complementary football that they showed yesterday, this is a very, very scary this is going to be a contending team within the NFC. Does it make the Super Bowl? Probably not. But this is a team that played mistake-free football. And you saw it. They dominated both sides, like both lines. And you know me. If you're going to win the defensive line and the offensive line, you're not going to lose many football games. That's just really is. Like, your quarterback can be great, your running back can be great, but everything starts on that line of scrimmage. And if they're going to be this good on both lanes of scrimmage, then this team is going to be very, very hard to beat on Sundays. If Jameis Winston is playing that football where he's not beating the team with his own arm, if Alvin Kamara is going to get those running lanes that we saw from their offensive line, if Cam Jordan and missing the other star player on that defensive line, if those two can be the disruptive force that we saw them yesterday, and they just locked up Marshawn Lattimore for the considerable future or the foreseeable future, they played mistake-free complementary football, and that is always a recipe for success. I'm not going to say this is a 38-3 team every single week. Obviously not. That doesn't happen. But this is a very hard out, especially for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that division. And I would not be surprised if they get one of those two wildcard spots. I will be the first to say that I did indeed underestimate this team. I may have overestimated the rookies that started and played yesterday, though. So as we know, this draft class is historic for the fact that we had 5 first-round quarterbacks within the first 15 picks in the 2021 draft. Shockingly enough, what y'all may not realize, not only did all 5 play, but guess what? All 5 scored touchdowns on the day. And I will quickly give you all the stat lines. And when I do that, Dwayne, I'm going to start with you. Trevor Lawrence, 28-51, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Zach Wilson, my guy, 20-37, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Matt Jones, 29-39, 281, a touchdown, no picks. Trey Lance with that 1 touchdown pass. Justin Fields, 2 completions and a rushing touchdown. So, Dwayne, what was your overall assessment for these rookie quarterbacks?
I think this might be the biggest overreaction, not just of the week, but maybe of the season. And I'm going to preface it by saying that location matters, right? Mac Jones might just be the best quarterback in this draft class. One of the things when you look at with Alabama quarterbacks, and the reason why it's hard to look at Alabama quarterbacks and say that they're successful on the next level, is because usually because of how well organized and how rigorous the Alabama football program is. Usually, whatever you're seeing when they enter the draft is what you're going to get for the rest of their career. They're not really going to add any new wrinkles. They're not going to really develop. Their game is pretty much capped out, right? If this is what Mac Jones's game is capped out as, he has years of success ahead of him in a New England Patriots uniform. Why? Because we just saw a quarterback with a very similar play style to Mac Jones play on this football team for 20 years and win 6 Super Bowls. Now, am I saying that Mac Jones is going to win 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots? Absolutely not. But he's in a position where he has a chance to be the most successful, right? He's in a division, number one, that 9 times out of 10 he should likely be in the playoff. He should be in playoff contention every single season he's in a New England Patriots uniform, as long as he's in the AFC East. Look at Zach Wilson. Yeah, he's in the AFC East too, but the Jets have years of rebuilding and filling holes ahead before we even look at the Jets as legitimate playoff contenders, right? You've got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. And yes, Trevor Lawrence, he is absolutely the best quarterback in this draft class right now, was the best quarterback on draft day, was clearly was the consensus number 1 pick for a reason, was the reason why Urban Meyer's in Jacksonville. But similarly to like the Jaguars still have a ways to go. They've got a couple of holes to fill. They've got some depth to address. They've got to figure out some things. And they're in the AFC South, and they're the 3rd best team in the division right now. There's still some things to figure out in Jacksonville. You look at Trey Lance in San Francisco. Now, if Trey Lance was starting, and based on, you look at that, I'd say that the 49ers are in a better position than the Patriots. But we've all sit here and said tonight that the NFC West is the toughest division in football. So it's not even a guarantee that even if Trey Lance could get the 49ers to 12 games any given season, that's going to be enough to get that team into the playoffs in that division. And then who am I missing? You've got Justin Fields on the Chicago Bears. And Justin Fields last night, by playing against the Rams, just became the greatest quarterback in Bears history in like 5 snaps. There is no better team right now for Mac Jones specifically to be successful than New England Patriots, because they've already got a system that works for how he plays. His pocket presence is phenomenal. Now, there are things he could work on, yes, but his pocket presence is phenomenal. He's very good with the decision making. He's not going to sit around and waste possessions. He's very careful with the football. We saw that in Alabama. He's in an offense that works for him. We've seen it work for 20 years. And again, I'm not saying that Mac Jones is going to go off. I'm not saying it's going to be Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's going to win 6 Super Bowls. He might not even win a Super Bowl, right? And that's fine. But he's in a location where, at the very least, if there's one guy right now where I could say, of these 5 guys, who's most likely to win a Super Bowl in the next, 5, maybe 6 years, I'm going to say Mac Jones.
You wanted to get in here, Jansen, so I'll let you go. What did you think of these 5 rookie quarterbacks? And do you like Dwayne's take saying Mac Jones could possibly be the best quarterback in this class? I love the take, by the way.
Well, first, I think Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer needs to figure that he should not be throwing that much this soon. That's how Joe Burrow got hurt last year. They cut that out. These teams need to run the football, stop dropping your rookie back a billion times a game and just throwing that football. That's how you get guys hurt, number one. But he didn't really play well, but he's just getting his feet wet. And for Wilson, I thought he started off terrible for the Jets, but he started having some success in the second half, and I think he ended the game pretty strong. But back to the Mac Jones. Look, we have to remember this. The Patriots still lost that game. The Patriots, yes, they have tradition, but to me, I'm not saying Bill Belichick can't coach. I'm not hating on him, but what'd you do with Cam Newton? Now, Mac Jones, is he similar to Tom Brady? I mean, they're both the same race. They both sit in the pocket, but I don't see how – I just don't see it with Mac Jones. The Patriots, to me, they're not a playoff team. You feel me? This isn't a team that – and you saw it with the Dolphins. You saw the Patriots struggle to score against the Dolphins. I just don't think that Mac Jones – I can't say he's going to be in the best position to win the Super Bowl, because I think the Patriots, when Tom Brady left, that really closed – that closed everything for them. Even the year Tom Brady when they lost, I think it was in the second round to Tennessee, and everybody overreacted. It's the end of an era and all that good stuff. I think they won the division that year, which for Patriots standards, I guess, is not good. But in reality, what did the Patriots do last year? In reality, if they had Tom Brady as their quarterback, they probably would have beat the Dolphins in the last 2 minutes, but they didn't. And it was a good win for the Dolphins, despite players on the Patriots coming out and saying if Tua doesn't see his first read, then he just panics and does anything, just throws it up there, which is kind of petty to come out and say after a loss, but it is what it is. But I think when we look at the class of these rookies, I agree with his take on Trevor Lawrence being the best quarterback out of all of them. But position to win a championship, I think Trey Lance is going to be playing soon. It's the toughest division, but I think he's in the best spot where he potentially could be playing in a Super Bowl this year. Again, it's a tough division, and the record might not be that sexy, but if they could get into the playoffs and with that defense, with Shanahan, I think he's in the best position to win a championship. But Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't be surprised if Trevor Lawrence, I think he is that good. If Trevor Lawrence gets that Jaguars team turned around in the next 2 or 3 years and they're contenders, I think he has that type of aura, the type of leadership and command of the offense. However, he can't be throwing the ball 50, 51 times a game. Urban Meyer's already scaring me. I don't know about Urban Meyer right now, though. I know about Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know about Urban Meyer because he needs to learn some balance. So that's my take on that.
I know about Urban Meyer, and if you are a fan of this show, you know I said from the day one, this guy does not deserve to be in the NFL, far less college. There are too many stains on this man's resume, but this show is not about him, so this is for another time. Steezy, all 5 played, all 5 scored touchdowns. What is your take or your feeling on these first-round rookie quarterbacks?
Honestly, this could be one of the greatest quarterback classes of all time. Mac Jones, I think of the 5, he stands and has the best chance of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year this year. Trey Lance, whenever he steps in, I think that he's going to have a golden opportunity to be, one of the very few quarterbacks that could potentially win a Super Bowl in his first year. Trevor Lawrence, he's never lost in high school, at least regular season. College never lost in regular season. Is he going to win anything at all in his rookie year? I mean, the Jaguars, this was the one game that they were probably pegged to win or were betting favorites, and they got annihilated. And so do they win any games at all in Trevor Lawrence's rookie year? Does his rookie year end in a Joe Burrow-like year because his offensive line is so bad, but because his defense and the rest of the team is so bad, he's constantly forced to have to throw the football 40 to 50 times every single game? Does he even get to finish his rookie year with 100% healthy or a single win? Zach Wilson, man, I think the Jets finally have a franchise quarterback, but boy, they better upgrade the offensive line as well. They better upgrade that defense because maybe they become a team that has this special talent at quarterback but wastes it. I mean, Zach Wilson, his first half was utterly atrocious. He took 5 sacks in the first half. He looked scared. He didn't have any time in the pocket, but obviously, I think Jansen pointed out in the second half, he bounced back. He threw a touchdown. He converted a 2. He looked much more poised. He looked much more confident. And so the Jets finally have a franchise quarterback. And then the Chicago Bears, man, Justin Fields could see playing time as soon as next week. I mean, they got the Bengals next week. They don't have an Aaron Donald-led defensive line to worry about because they do have one of the worst O-lines in football. I mean, my goodness. Of course, Andy Dalton was going to look that bad, but yeah, essentially my take is that, this is honestly a top 2, top 3 crop in terms of quarterback talent coming in. I mean, these are 5 legitimate starters. These are guys that all have star potential in the NFL. These are all guys that are going to succeed if given the opportunity and they're put in the right position. I think right now, like I said, Mac Jones is in the best position to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. In terms of the rookie that has the worst situation, that got to be Trevor Lawrence. In terms of the rookie who has the most talent, pure talent, I think it's either between Trey Lance or Zach Wilson. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to talk about with these guys, a lot of great things that we saw in week 1. I can't wait to see more, but I'm with Jansen when it comes to Trevor. Don't throw him in the fire. I mean, bring in some more pieces on the O-line, then you can start doing stuff like that. But that you're going to be down every single game, so you might as well just run the football a little bit more. The Jets, I want to see them bring some more talent to surround Zach Wilson. He has a bright future, arguably the brightest of all these guys. Mac Jones probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. His team's probably going to have the most success aside from the Trey Lance 49ers. But yeah, overall, saw some great things, and can't wait to see what's more to come. Honestly,
I want to say too, just very quickly about the score of the Dolphins-Patriots game. We've seen close Patriots games against the Dolphins, even with Tom Brady. I don't think that Mac Jones only, the Patriots only posting 16 points on the Dolphins is an issue, especially when the Dolphins last season had one of the better defenses as the season progressed in the back half. I look at it as this, right? The Patriots have a lot of toss-up games, and I said it when I was on the show on Wednesday last week before the season. I'll say it again. The Patriots' playoff hopes is going to come down to that game against the Colts, and both Steezy and Justin, they circled that, and they're going to hold me to it, and that's fine. But I think it comes down to that. I think it's a toss-up, right? I think the two games that I'm most forward to looking at for Mac Jones this season is the two games against the Jets, because those two games, to see Mac Jones and Zach Wilson go at it twice a year this season, it's going to be a sight to behold. And if I'm not mistaken, the Patriots play the Jaguars too this season. So we're really going to see just how well Mac Jones and really all these other rookie quarterbacks measure up against each other, because they're all going to be playing each other this season. It's just going to be a fantastic thing to watch.
So I'll get through this quickly because we still have one last segment. Urban Meyer is going to get Trevor Lawrence killed if he continues throwing over 50 times with a rookie quarterback. This is not Ohio State. This is not Florida. Right. There is no rookie quarterback coming in that is going to put his team on the shoulders and win you football games. This is not college. That's not going to happen. One, I was surprised that Zach Wilson started so slowly. I thought the offense was going to be so much better. My love for these offensives that are tailored from Mike Shanahan's old offense in Denver. Justin Fields needs to start right away. That much is clear for me. Andy Dalton is not it at all, and you need to know what you have in Justin Fields. I can understand why Trey Lance is not starting, having watched him in the preseason. He is very, very raw and needs a lot of work. I am missing one before I get to Matt Jones. Who am I missing? I got Zach, I got Trey. Oh, I got everyone. So here is it. Quickly, before I get into specifics, Jansen, I know you feel a way about the Patriots losing to the Dolphins. You can understand why. But that's not on Matt Jones. Everyone forgets Jansen Harris fumbles that football in the red zone in the dying moments of that game. If he doesn't fumble that football, the very least, we're talking about a go-ahead field goal. Matt Jones comes out of that game 1-0. I put that directly on Jansen Harris. That is a fumble that cost the game, and those are not errors that you expect the New England Patriots to make, especially with a game on the line. So you thought that Dwayne was alone in his tape? Well, hold my beer. After ripping Matt Jones a new one for the entire preseason, I'm going to say this. I have seen enough NFL football now to safely say Matt Jones not only is in the best position to win, he may arguably, and this is such an overreaction Monday, have the best career by a mile out of all of them, because I think too often now we are being caught up in this era of dual threat quarterbacks. Your ability to run does not make you separate you from anyone else. Your ability to have a cannon of an arm to make off-platform throws is not the difference between everyone else. The greatest quarterback of all time does not have these abilities. What does he have? He has the ability to process information quickly and not turn over the football. And what have we been hearing of Matt Jones ever since in Alabama to now? He processes information quickly and makes the right reads. And we saw that on Sunday. And I'm not telling you he will be the next Tom Brady. I'm not telling you he has better arm talent than the other four aforementioned quarterbacks, because he doesn't. But what I've seen all preseason long and what I saw on Sunday is the smartest quarterback in this group, and by a mile. He knows his reads. He gets his reads quickly. He does not turn over the football. He does not do what he cannot do. Matt Jones is going to make the playoffs, and we may be talking about the best quarterback in this field simply because, as Dwayne correctly said, in restaurant business, like quarterbacks, location matters. And I don't think Tom Brady is better than anyone, but Tom Brady played in a system that was meant for him with great coaching, with a coach that, and I'm going to say this, steals so much that he knows how to win, and that reflected well on Tom Brady, even though he left and won. Matt Jones may possibly be the best quarterback, not because he has greater arm talent, not because he has any fantastic gifts, not because he can make plays on his legs. The kid processes information quickly. The New England Patriots had no right losing that game. If not for Damien Harris, we have a different situation. But that's me on Overreaction Monday. But we can come back 10 years from now where I said Matt Jones will have the best career out of all these quarterbacks simply because of situation. So to wrap up quickly, because we are far behind, I'm going to start you, Jansen. The Ravens and the Raiders close out week 1. And as I said, make this short and quick. Who wins and why?
Well, I'm going with the Ravens. The Ravens defense will dominate, and Derek Carr, and I believe he's struggling right now. The Ravens are going to wrap up that. Yep. Yeah, the Ravens are going to wrap that game up. I think you're going to see Hollywood Brown make some plays, Sammy Watkins, they'll make some plays down the field. Hopefully, for the fans out there, Lamar Jackson, a couple breakaway plays with his legs. But, yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. I picked them prior to the game starting, too. So, yeah, I think the Ravens are a better team.
You too, Steezy. Same question. Who wins? Why?
I got to go with Baltimore. I'm giving Lamar Jackson the benefit of the doubt despite the absence of J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. They're running a whole bunch of, vets. There's a guy named, Tyson Williams, who they're running behind, undrafted. They did lose Marcus Peters in the secondary, but let's not forget Lamar Jackson just won. He was a unanimous MVP a couple years ago. In my book, he's a top 5, top 6 quarterback in all of football. They still have a solid offensive line. The Las Vegas Raiders still have the same issues that have plagued them in the last couple of years. Still no defense. Offensive line got worse. Josh Jacobs looks like he's getting worse. Outside of Darren Waller, there's still no reliable weapons. And right now, the Raiders are down 14-0, and Derek Carr is completing less than 50% of his passes at home. And so until I see more, I think talks of the Baltimore Ravens' demise are a little too far. But with that being said, I'm going to go Baltimore. They should easily prevail. More talented team and by far the far more superior quarterback than Lamar Jackson. So Baltimore will win this one easily.
I have been pulled into my in-laws' family fantasy football competition, and stupid me benched Lamar Jackson in favor of, yes, I know, of Josh Allen this week. And I'm already regretting this. Yeah, I'm watching them regret this. But before I get my take, Dwayne, Raiders, Ravens, who wins, why?
Given that it's 14-0 right now, and the Raiders got the ball with like 4 minutes to go, I guess it's easy to go the Ravens. And that was my pick before the game anyway. I need the Ravens to win this football game. I need them to win. This week has been a bad week for me. Most of my picks were wrong this week. Of course, the Packers lost terribly, right? I lost 2 of my fantasy football games this season just because of just the Packers just absolutely. I need the Ravens to win this game so I can have some type of moral victory. But in all seriousness, though, I think, and I said this a couple days ago, and I'll say it again, Lamar Jackson might win this game with his arm this season. Not this season. He might actually win this football game with his arm because the running game right now is kind of all out of whack. Right, of course you've got Gus Edwards who's out and J.K. Dobbins who's out, and I know they just and Tyson Williams right now he's doing okay. He's got 4 rushes, 45 yards, and a touchdown. But this is a football game where I think the Ravens are going to be in a position where they're going to have to rely on Lamar Jackson's arm, and that's when we're really going to see just what Lamar Jackson's made of. I think he can do it. The Raiders just scored a touchdown, but maybe it can come down to the wire, right? The Raiders aren't that bad of a football team. I think the issue with the Raiders is their defense. Offensively, they have pieces. They've got Hunter Renfrow. Of course, they've got Darren Waller, who's the third best tight end in the league. They've got Derek Carr, he's not terrible, but he's not great. And then you've got a running game there. So it could get interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas pulls it out because they are playing at home. But come on now, conventional wisdom, you got to go with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens against this Raiders football team.
I had Buffalo. I have Baltimore to win this division, actually, being the AFC North, until the third running back went down, which is Gus Edwards. So now I'm going to have to switch to Cleveland. But yeah, I'm going to go with Baltimore. Yeah, there are too many holes, as Steezy mentioned, too many question marks. And I need that Baltimore defense for my points, because I'm about to lose this matchup against my sister-in-law. So I'm just hoping that that defense gets enough points just to put me over the top. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, sorry, like, you know me and my philosophy. I keep things simple. When you have the better head coach and you have the better quarterback, which is John Gruden and Lamar Jackson, you're 10-3 going to win the game. So I'm going to go with the Ravens in this one. So, guys, thank you so very much for coming on. And before we get out of here, obviously, I'm going to let you plug your show. So I'm going to start with Jansen. Tell the kind folks how to find you and what you have coming up next.
Thank you for having me on the show, Justin. Guys, every social media platform and everywhere you can listen to podcasts, the Final Play on the Just Good Network. Also, we have a Falcons podcast, the Flying High podcast, wherever you guys listen to podcasts. That's a Falcons weekly podcast. Those guys, they do a phenomenal job, and I'm on it as well, too. And the Combat Sports podcast. If you like boxing, you like MMA, literally it's everywhere. Anchor, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast. And again, I had fun with everybody on this show. It was pretty dope. Let's do it again. Let's do it.
So,
as everyone can tell, you don't come on this show once. So, Steezy, again, how may people find you, and what do you have coming up shortly?
first of all, I just want to say thank you for giving me the pleasure of being on. It was a true pleasure, as per usual. Shout out to you, Justin. Shout out Neil. Shout out Marsha. Shout out Dwayne. G.O.A.T Talk with Marcus. Jansen, my brother Jansen. Shout out to Just Good Network. This just in. Show all my brothers here some love, man. Hit that like, drop a comment, give a 5-star rating, share, all that good stuff, honestly. Whatever you can, just show some love. It's a Monday. It's beautiful outside. The sun's out. Why not, give a little bit of love? Once you go do that, you can find me on socials at Steezy A Smith, SteeZya SMITH. Talk basketball, talk football, I talk a little bit of boxing. And it's been a while since I've really posted on my YouTube. I haven't been able to really get in the studio and whatnot, hence the playing background. But, I can't wait to get back to the studio. Once I do that, be for sure to drop more content. But for now, stay tuned. And follow me on Instagram and really keep up to date at Steezy A Smith. That's it for me, y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you guys. I don't think I have to plug Dwayne, but yeah, of course I'm always going to plug Dwayne, because that is my brother indeed. Dwayne Marcus, G.O.A.T Talk podcast. You know what to do.
Man, it's always a pleasure to come on here. It's just always fun to talk football on a Monday. We've got a new recording schedule, so we'll come out with a new show tomorrow to recap Monday Night Football, obviously, between the Raiders and the Ravens, and debut a new segment on the show as well. And then we right back live on Wednesday with another show previewing Week 2 of the NFL season as well. We did post an episode today recapping Sunday's games. Of course, I shed some tears about the Packers, and we looked at just a couple of things around the league as far as Sunday's game is concerned. So please head over to G.O.A.T Talk podcast. Well, actually, it's G.O.A.T Talk with Marcus now. I always forget, on YouTube, and check it out. Leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at GTP Marcus. The Twitter fingers, as Steezy can tell you, have been very active lately. Usually around 3 o'clock in the morning is when the Twitter fingers are active. Just always talking stuff and throwing out ideas. But it's always a pleasure to come on the This Justin Sports Show. Either one or two things are happening. Either I'm always upset or I'm defending players I don't usually defend. And today I was upset. So maybe next time I'll be defending somebody I have no business defending. But seriously, much love to all you guys watching. Of course, to Justin, Steezy, and Jansen. It's always a pleasure.
Guys, you know how to find us. It's every Monday. The same bat time, the same bat channel. We focus on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. But for Jansen, Steezy, and Dwayne Marcus, this is Justin of This Just In. You may need to actually start highlighting that hashtag, because, oh my God, a certain former First Take host has taken the name of this show. It is so annoying, and I do not want. Yeah, his show is now This Just In, and I do not want anything to be associated with him whatsoever. Yeah, I'm not a fan. So going forward, we may just be using that hashtag not as a silent hashtag anymore. It may just become hashtag this just in. So again, for Jansen, Steezy, and Dwayne Marcus, I am Justin of This Just In signing out. Thank you all guys for watching.
Good night, everybody.
I don't have a mark on my face, and my upset's not in Lisbon, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't nobody here just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes?